Welcome to Helping Organisations Thrive. Today, I have the pleasure of Lee Houghton. Welcome, Lee.
Oh, morning, Julian. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, Lee, and it's good to chat to you again. Obviously, it's a few months ago I chatted on your podcast, and it's a real privilege and honour to have you on mine. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. I just want to tell our audience a little bit about you. So you are a multi-sector leadership and change team coach. Who is a business improvement specialist of over 15 years of experience of developing and coaching at all levels and size of organizations and teams. This has also led you to co-found your company Get Knowledge, where you develop teams and businesses. And as I already mentioned, you are also a podcast host. So again, welcome, and I appreciate your time, and I'm really looking forward to this. I always ask.
Sorry, Julian. You're not looking forward to it as much as I am. And if you'd have asked me to do my own introduction, I can assure you it wouldn't have been as short as that. So I think it's definitely wise you doing the introduction. So thank you for that.
Well, I will give you the reins in a moment, which is we'll see where that will go. The wild reins that Lee will take us on a wonderful journey, a wonderful storyteller, and that's why you're on here as well, and wonderful insights at this time. So. As I always ask my guests at this time is, what do you love about what you do?
So I think, what do I love about what I do? I think is a great question, because that's changed. There's been one constant through everything, and it's people. I love people. And over this last few months, that's been my biggest challenge is how do I still connect and build those relationships with people. But what I love about is it's about people, and it's about that when you see that penny drop moment in somebody and they go, actually, I can do this myself, or I've now overcome this situation or challenge. That's what I love, enabling people to do something that they couldn't before, or couldn't get past something before. The whole world is stronger with relationships, and I think that's what I love doing. I love meeting new people. And having the platform of my own business, I can now meet whoever I want to meet as well, and the avenues that I want to go down, rather than just being down a single narrow path of maybe who I've worked for before down a particular paths. But the world is a small place if you make it a small place, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I'm curious of, obviously you didn't wake up one day and go, I love people, or you might have said you love people, and you love that moment where people have that sort of penny drop. What got you to that place of doing what you're doing today?
So, as you said in the introduction, I've been doing change for 15 years, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. It was something that was suggested to me by a manager at the point in time. It was one of them development conversations where we've got a role that we think you'd be ideal for, and I had no idea what it was. And I started like 15, 16 years ago, and there was something in that, because at the side of that, I also DJ'd and I did parties, so I had like a parallel world I was living in. I was a continuous improvement person by day and party person by night. And I got to a point where I was earning just as much money doing both of these things that I had to make a decision whether it would be parties or whether it would be improvement. And I still don't know whether it was the right decision. I think it was the right decision, but I chose the improvement one, because when I was DJing, you'd play a song and everybody would flock to the dance floor, and you'd see people smiling, bouncing up and down and singing along with you. And you could influence joy and happiness in people at that point in time. And then at the end of the night, you'd shake hands and stuff, and they'd all like thank you for what you'd done. And then that'd be that. And you'd played a tiny part in those people's lives. But when I was doing the improvement stuff, and somebody had gone, that's been a problem or an issue for months, for years, or we've not been able to get past that, I'm actually have the opportunity to influence people's lives as opposed to a moment of their life. And I think understanding that now and looking back, that's why I've made the right decision. And that's one of the things that I think gives me the sense of fun, the joy, and the passion for doing what I do. It's just affecting people's lives in a positive way, as opposed to a moment of their life by playing their favorite song and getting them to bounce up and down on a dance floor.
So it's all about the sustainability of what you do. As in the DJ bit was, I say, that moment where they're feeling excited, they love it. And then now you're doing things where people go away and can do things for themselves on the long-term perspective, which is, I suppose, more rewarding. It's a long-term reward, isn't it, in terms of your impact and of what you're doing?
Completely. Yeah. It's so rewarding. It's amazing. And if I could, 16 years ago when I started, I never envisaged being able to have this opportunity now to do so many. We were talking just before we hit record. So many varied and random things that probably don't connect, but they will at a point in time. When I look back, I'm hoping they do. And to be able to influence so many people in so many different ways. And I think one of my key things is that everybody's different. Everybody is different, and they all go through the change curve and stuff at different paces, different times, and like different things, and have challenges by different things. And some people are happy to jump out of a plane, and some people are frightened of that. Some people are happy to stand on stage, and some people are frightened of that. And by recognizing that everybody's different and trying to bring happiness and get everybody to move past certain things in their careers and lives and business problems, I think is so important. So it comes back to what we said about people. Everybody's different, but also you can help everybody move a little bit further forward. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I've actually answered your question, but that's the reason why I love doing what I do, because I've an opportunity that I'm so grateful for to influence different people.
And you talked about change there, and I've talked about the change curve. And, I think this year, it's been a roller coaster for everybody. Nobody's been untouched by the change we're all appreciating. And again, we talked before how, we talk about that old adage of, change is constant, change is here to stay. But more than ever before, that external force of the pandemic is causing companies, individuals, to pivot, to adapt, to change in every which way. And, I've been talking to companies, and I suppose there's an element of fatigue that comes with that. And it'd be interesting to understand what conversations you're having and how are you helping other organizations where they need to, I guess, keep that motivation going and keep that engagement within a company. Because, as much as we're all up for change, after a while, it becomes a little bit wearing. And even myself, I do a lot of it as myself, but it's just, how do you keep that motivation? What are you saying to companies right now?
So I think if we'd have done this podcast, I think it'd be quite interesting. So if we'd have done this podcast 12 months ago, would we both have had full heads of hair? Probably not. No. And I'm follically challenged as well. So that's not. So some people have lost the hair. Some people really don't like change. And the people that don't like change, are more than us, I find, they're wedded to a particular thing. In doing what we do, so we might introduce a daily meeting, or you might introduce some standards or some visual management or some problems or some tools and techniques, and people become wedded to that whiteboard in the office. So we can't have a morning meeting now because we can't all see the whiteboard and we can't all huddle around the whiteboard and stuff, because they're wedded to the actual tool. But if we actually elevate it up a little bit and understand what are the principles behind that, and I call it I've got 4 C's, and it's about connecting. So how do you connect around a single purpose, and so how, where, when do you connect? And then it's converse. So what conversations do you have that drive, or what are the right conversations to have that help move you forward? And what are the things that you're talking about? Then it's collaborate. So how do you then, after you're having those conversations, how can you then, as a team or as groups of people, collaborate on certain things, problems or challenges that you're having, and what are the key things that you need to collaborate on, maybe work tasks, and then how do you celebrate? So if you actually overlaid those 4 C's on what you're doing, that's how I just because. So since March, we're no longer allowed to work in an office, and we're going to end up in a place where it's a hybrid place where some people are working from home, some people are working from an office. So we're going to have to answer these 4 C's again, because it's dead easy now, because everybody now has got virtual whiteboards. Everybody now has taken the rag status from the whiteboard and they put it on a virtual whiteboard. So they're having those conversations and collaborating on those points. But then we're going to get to a point in 6 months' time where we're having a hybrid world. We're going, actually, how now do we connect about the right vision, the right direction, the right time, the right technology that brings us all together? What are the right things we need to be conversing about now? How do we collaborate and how do we celebrate? So I think, to answer your question and stay and keep motivated and keep moving forward and keeping going, it's not being wedded to a vehicle, to a tool, to something that you use, but to understand where you're trying to get to in the principles behind it. Yeah. So you always want to connect with your people, with your teams, with your peers, with the rest of your business. So how best can you connect with what's in front of you, and how do you do it? And how do you make sure you're connecting to a vision and the direction? And so I've got a whole host of questions under the connect thing. And then, what are the important conversations to have now? So the conversations now might be similar or different to what you used to have 9 months ago. And then going forward, they're going to be different again. So how do you keep those fresh? And what are the right conversations to have at the right team in the right forum? How do you collaborate together? So how do you do that? How do you do it in a virtual world? How do you do it in a physical world? Do you do it or do you not do it? Or is it just the only collaboration at the water cooler when you're moaning and whinging about or talking about last night's I'm a celebrity, whatever? And then how do you then celebrate at the end of it? So I think a lot of people are all right at the connecting and conversing part, but the collaborating one people fall down on, and the celebrating one people fall down on. So I think that's the big challenge. It's not be wedded to a tool. It's understand the principle behind where you want to try to get to, and then just work with everybody, engage everybody in developing that. That's what I would say. And I think those 4 C's are not going to go away no matter what world we live in.
No, I like that, because as much as people have changed to the virtual world and remote working and flexible working, there will come a time where, as you say, a hybrid may come, which is to create another change. And actually not being so wedded to the tools. I quite like that, because I feel that where people get comfortable, don't they, in that sense of this is the way we do it. And I've even now talked to people who, we're going back in October in the office, and now it's going to be more like April. And I think there's even a sense of intrepidation of going back, because we've sort of got used to this. And it goes with that, flow of, change is constant, and we need to be nimble and agile as people and as organizations. I talk a lot about where, that whole slightly different in terms of your approach, but it's rooted in the same way, because you're elevating above the sort of day-to-day and the sort of the tactics, so to speak. And I talk a lot about how you need to ensure we know our purpose, mission, vision, whatever you want to call it. Completely. And that's the big guiding light, because in principle, depending on your company, it is not really changed. The timing of it might have changed, and the how you go about it may change, but actually the purpose itself is still exactly the same. Yeah. So going into you talked about celebrating, you talked about connecting and creating that sort of engagement and motivation. It is a challenge virtually, and I think some companies, I think they are getting tired of bingo on a Friday afternoon or drinks at 4:30, quizzes. I'm not talking specific tools thing, but what other things can we do that, I suppose, almost going back to elevating above that, really, that will really generate that sense of excitement about what we're doing? Those people who are sitting at home day in, day out with the family, but are on their own in terms of the work context. How do we sort of elevate them and keep them motivated? What would you say to a leader in terms of their engagement with their team, to try and elevate them and excite them? And you may have to bring some props in here.
So I think firstly, Leadership is all about choices. I put a post on LinkedIn actually, and I had a little picture that had a leader sat behind the desk with a workload that they were hid behind, and then there was a box there, and there's all of the team were disengaged and stuff. And leadership is about choices. So as a leader, it's your choice whether you ask your people how they are today, or you don't ask your people how you are today. Whether you work on your workload or you understand about somebody else's workload. Whether you have a meeting, whether you don't. So it's all about choices. So I think if you want to engage and empower your team, then that's a choice. You've got to choose to engage and choose to empower. And I come back to what I said at the start. Everybody's different. So some people, they love standing on stage and being celebrated and going, you are the rising star of this organization, you hero. And some people would hate that, and they would just like a pat on the back and go, bloody good job you've done there. So I think the more as leaders that we can build an understanding of our people on a personal level. And I'm not saying that you need to know when it's all of the kids' birthdays and all of that stuff, but it's about building relationships. Everything we do is about people, relationships, connection. So if you want to engage and empower your people, it's about building that relationship first, because they will trust you to do it. So to answer your question, it's a choice as leaders to do it. It's a choice for leaders to actually, if you want to go and engage, go and engage. If you want to ask how they are, ask them how they are. If you want to bring some fun, ask them what they like to do as fun. As you said, so I used to DJ, and I DJ'd for a good number of years. And what I tried to do then was try to do something different every time. So when I had an idea, and in fact, you've prompted it now, so I'll bring it out. So I DJ'd for 18 months, dressed as a monkey, okay? But I didn't just DJ for 18 months dressed. So what I'm not saying now is that if there's a team leader sat there going, all right, we need to do something different to liven up our team, next team huddle. We can get a performing monkey. I'm not saying that
we bring Lee in.
Yeah, it's not a service I offer anymore, but I was trying to differentiate the pub that I was working in from the pub next door. So I DJ dressed as a monkey. I also balloon modelled as well at the same time. So I made, I forgot to tell you that bit. So I can actually.
Have we got any balloons now, though?
No. We're building up to that. Invite me on again. I'll bring some balloons on. I'll make you something. But because it's about what do people like, what do people enjoy doing, and how can you do some things a little bit different. So bingo, quizzes, and stuff was good. But what can we do now? So I've tried laughter. I've got a community of change people, and I brought in a laughter yoga guy to do a laughter yoga session. Amazing session.
What's a laughter yoga? I mean, I know what yoga is. I know what laughter is. How does that work?
Yeah, it's breathing. It's forced laughter, but at the end of the half an hour, then you naturally laugh, because laughing is infectious, and it's just everybody can laugh. Yeah. So I would definitely encourage trying laughter yoga, and if you do, then use Pete Can. So he's been on my podcast before. I've been on his podcast, and he calls himself the Laughing Man. He looks a little bit sinister on some of his LinkedIn videos, but honestly, give him a go at the laughter yoga stuff, but it's not for everybody. Sometimes you get a full team there, and you see like 2 or 3 people. They're going, I'm not laughing in front of these people. I only work with them, don't like them. But it's not for everybody. So everybody's different, and it's about finding those things and just trying different things. So, like I said, I've got a community. I have a coffee conversation every Tuesday at 4:00. And I went to Tesco the other week, and I bought a little pack of Would You Rather cards. And now on the thing, I just asked 2 or 3 would you rather questions just to generate a different type of discussion to help understand different people. So I wouldn't be frightened to try something new. Embrace everybody's individualness. I got an opportunity to speak at Northampton University 2 weeks ago, and it was on public speaking, and we were in front of public speaking students, and we have to offer our tips and techniques and stuff. And I was really worried because I went up for fourth, so I was like there was 4 of us, and I went on last, and I had a lot of self-doubt in my head, and I was going, oh no, is everybody going to nick all my ideas? Is everybody going to say all of my tips? So that was all the self-doubt going on. And every time one finished, I was like, oh, thank God for that. Thank God for that. And then third one, this is the last one. And I said at the start of it, I was really worried listening to these because I didn't know if everybody was going to nick all of my ideas and stuff and my thoughts. And what actually happened was we've all built on different ideas and thoughts of everybody else and stuff. It's all complementary. So I would just go with it. Just try different stuff. Just embrace everybody's individualness. And you might have somebody in the team that is amazing at something that you might not know. Just ask.
Yeah, no, I think you made a valid point about making sure that everybody is awareness of that they're all different. We all have different needs. We all have different understandings of what fun might be, or what excitement might be, or what praise they would like. Yeah. But also, I guess, just taking it back to that leader who's not wanting to mimic what you're doing with Funky Monkey, thinking that's a Lee thing, rather than everyone's going out there buying a monkey outfit and I know what I'll bring a bit of fun. It's not them, and it's making sure that people are still authentic and are themselves, which is really important. And I think often people feel challenged to be different sometimes. Yeah. And also another great point you made there is about it's a time to try anything, whether it's an engagement piece in an organization or it's a new thing as a business to have a go at something to try and hit a new market. Anything goes. Give it a go. Just try it, because you'll learn from it. You'll learn if it fails in that context, you'll learn tons, and teams will learn tons along. Yeah. So going back to that leader who is now thinking, okay, I can get everybody excited. I can do all these fun things and create empowerment with people to do things for them. How do they maintain their own, I guess, call it self-leadership, call it self-motivation? What advice would you give to a leader themselves for that mindset? And the reason I want to talk about this is because you've just launched a book. Nice little segue link there.
I see what you did there. Very clever.
See what I did there, yeah. Because you've just launched a book about mindsets. It's a children's book, and it's all about Jack and his thoughts. And I really love, I know it's obviously aimed at children, but we've talked before that there's some real value for adults. And I think it'd be just good for you to share a bit more about the book and a bit more how that would help potentially a leader right now, whether it's with their kids or themselves.
So I've got loads I want to say on about three things that you've just shared there. So you asked me about leaders and how they can do it, and I think you summed it up perfectly when you said it's about authenticity and being themselves. That's what I would say. It's always about just being yourself. You're the best you there is. And I've got a number of lessons on this. In fact, so this tattoo here is a reminder of me not being myself. So I got this tattoo, and when I went to the tattoo artist, I said, "Can you start it here? Because I've got a job, and I don't want people to know I've got a tattoo. So when I wear a shirt, I can hide it here." And what I found over time is, as I became more comfortable with who I was and what I do and how I do it, that a level of my confidence in that room was the level of how much I would pull up my sleeve. So really, I should get that tattooed, because it looks a little bit ridiculous, but it's a reminder to me that actually I used to be really self-conscious about what other people thought of somebody with tattoos. And where this started from, in fact, slight digression, but I promise I will bring it back, and I'll do it quite as quick as I possibly can. So do you have a friend, Julian, that you might have not have seen for like a week or a month, but then when you get back together, it's like you've never been apart?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So every time I ask that question, everybody's got those friends, and I've got one called Chris. And about just over 2 years ago, I was working on a client site in London, and I got a phone call to say that I needed to dash home. So I got on I live in the north of England. You might not be able to tell because I've not got an accent. So I got on the train, and I got out at Preston, got in a taxi, and then I got to St. Catherine's Hospice in Preston. And when I arrived at the hospice, I went through the door, and Chris was lying there, and he was paler and frailer than he was just 3 days before when I left him. And we hugged and stuff, and I said I would stay the night with him that night because he deteriorated so much in the last few days. So I sent his sister away, his ex missus away, and one of our other mates away. And I said I'd do the night shift because I'd been working away. And at 10 to 8 in the morning, I woke up. My breakfast was due at 8 o'clock. Tea and toast was being provided. I was lying on the couch. So I said, Chris, I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to go and freshen up in the bathroom. So I went into the bathroom. I had a wash, brushed my teeth, and then I left the bathroom. And then I looked over at Chris, and his chest rose, and that was it. He'd chosen that moment to take his last breath. And that the week after that, I was really, really reflecting on a whole host of things. And the things that I reflect on more than anything else was I had an opportunity to have some amazing conversations that have changed my life in the last 2 years with Chris. Because when he was told there was nothing else they could do for him, he said, we had a conversation, a frank conversation. He said, what do you want from me? What do you want? How much money do you want to set up in business? You've always wanted to be your own boss, and you've always wanted to have your own consultants. And I said, no, Chris, I don't want any of your money. I just want you, really. But one thing that has changed that I'd really welcome a conversation about is your perspective on life has changed since you've been terminal. And there was a couple of things that had happened that I recognised that he had changed. Like he was always somebody that if a car like cut you up, he would always be the person that would like flick the V's out of the window, drive up behind them, drive up to their house and stuff like that, park on the drive, and he was always one of those people.
Scary.
Yeah. And he no longer did that when he was in this, because he said to me, he said it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't. What's it going to gain if I do that? So what I said to him, I said, what I'd really love is 3 lessons through your eyes that you want me to share with your boys. We had at the time, he had a boy who was 14 and 16, now 16 and 18, and friends and family. So I was really reflecting after losing him, and I was thinking back to the conversations that we'd had. And the first lesson, he said, so I turned up to the hospital, and he went, I've got the first lesson for you, Lee. He said, when him and his ex-partner were separated, he tried to be somebody he wasn't. It didn't make him happy, didn't make her happy, and they still ended up splitting up. And he says, so no matter what, just always be yourself. Just always be yourself. And then for the last 2 years, I've really been trying to understand what always being yourself meant. And I think that is mastery. And I'm going to use the word mastery, but mastery of your mind and thoughts driving behavior. Mm-hmm. I'm a big advocate of that, of your thoughts driving your beliefs, and then what manifests itself in the outside world as your behavior. And so we'll just touch on and so that's the reason, one of the things I wanted to get across in the book, but we'll go back to the book. I'll just tell you the other 2 lessons first. And then a couple of weeks afterwards, I went back to see him. He was in the hospital at the time, and he said, you come every time you're not working, you come and see me. And then one of our other mates, every 12 o'clock every single day, as soon as he goes on his lunch hour, rings Chris up and checks how he is. He said, so Chris was best mate. We grew up on the next door, but 3 to each other from the age of 1. He was best man at my wedding. He was godfather to my daughter, and all of that stuff. So we were like really close for 39 years. And he says, you come when you're not working. Our other mate rings him every day. And so he said, when we were growing up, we had different opportunities and different paths that we could have gone down at different times. He said, but we didn't. We stayed together, stayed close. He said, so you never know when you need your friends. So he said, no matter what, just make good friends. So I think that has shaped me now in terms of, I'm not just talking about friends, I'm talking about connections. I'm talking about clients. I'm talking about customers. I'm talking about relationships. Mm-hmm. Anybody you speak to is an opportunity to have a better relationship with somebody else, with somebody, a stronger connection. So Chris meant it from his best mates and when you needed them the most. But the last 2 years, I've been just thinking about these 3 things so much, and I try to carry it into everything. So I want to create better connections with everybody I possibly can. So that was the second one. And then we had the opportunity. He bought some, before he was told there was nothing else he can do, he bought some tickets to go watch the Foo Fighters at the Etihad Stadium. And 8 of us went. It was amazing. But on the way back from that, his ex-missus and the 2 boys and Chris were dropping him off at the hospice. And then after they dropped him off, his youngest said, is it too late for him and his dad and brother and me and my boy to go to Anfield for a tour because we both supported Liverpool. So I got a phone call that Thursday night to say, "Is it too late?" I was like, "Bloody hell! Let's see what we can do." So on the Sunday, we arranged a private tour. It was an amazing day. Where we wheeled him around in the chair. We had ice creams before the sun was beating down. We got a discount in the shop. They give us free drinks. They give us a private tour. Liverpool were absolutely amazing, and I can't thank them enough for what they did. And then on the way back, we're in the car and. The three lads were sat behind us, Chris's two and mine, and he said, "How many times have we had the opportunity to do this?" I said, "Well, yeah, loads of times." He said, "Well, why did we wait till I had to be wheeled around in a wheelchair to do this?" He said, "So the third lesson is time's limited." Yeah. So with always being yourself, making good friends, and time is limited. For the last 2 years, those have shaped my life completely. So in the last 2 years, I've started my business, I've started my podcast, I've now grown my connections on LinkedIn and trying to make stronger relationships with anybody and everybody I can. And then always being yourself is just, I've never really truly understood the power of thoughts and then the thoughts driving behavior. So probably a really long answer to get around to the book that you actually started the conversation with. So
No, it's and I thank you for your sharing that personal story, because obviously it means a lot to you, and that friendship obviously had a profound effect. And what a wise man to share those 3 lessons at the end. I mean, that's incredible, really. I mean, I know most people when they get, I don't know a lot of people who've died in that sense, but get to the end of their life, have a bit more of a reflective on their life and what they could do differently. And it's quite amazing that he wanted to share that with you so that you walked away and had a better life and a greater impact. And that's a great testament to him and who he really was, despite him chasing people down if they cut him up or anything else. Probably deep down, he obviously learned some lessons. And it's interesting because I interviewed a lady called Dr. Agio on a few days ago, and she talked about stoicism, talked about how have a healthy view of about death, in the sense of almost visualizing yourself out and what's your legacy going to be, and almost have that, not in a morbid sense, but almost to drive you to do the things rather than waiting to get to that point and then realize I've missed all these opportunities of friendships, of time with my children. And I always remember when I first became a parent myself, somebody gave me a book and it had a quote in there about nobody has ever said on their deathbed, "I wish I spent more time at the office." And it's always stuck with me, that in the sense of, I know we have to work and appreciate all that, but it's the priorities and the value of, spending time with, friendships, connections, client, whoever it may be, children. And I think that's some really good lessons. And I think as for leaders, those 3 things are, I think, quite impactful. And I thank you for sharing them. So
no, thank you for the opportunity. And so one of my purposes really is to make Chris's memory outlive me. That's one of the things that drives me, is that at 39 years old, he was taken far too soon, and he's the most selfless person that I've ever known in my life. And I want to ensure that his memory outlives me. So my 4th children's book was Chris the Ginger Monkey, but I wrote that before he passed, just because he was my best mate at the time. So I wrote it about a flatulent ginger monkey, because that was him. And what I did, I read a eulogy. I did a eulogy at his funeral, and what I didn't realize. So I read the last 2 pages of the book, and when I read those last 2 pages, it's about the monkey just ending his day. And I was like, when I wrote this book, I didn't realize I'd be writing it as we're closing Chris's story.
Oh, wow.
And that was, honestly, it was unbelievable. Everything just happened and panned out the way it did. And I shared his 3 lessons then with the people that were there. And in all of our, so get knowledge now, the products that we sell are dripping with those 3 lessons, and the story, because I think those 3 things are so transferable to everything we do. Always being yourself, thoughts drive behavior, control that, and then you can achieve anything, which is then the purpose of the book. Making good friends, it's all about people. It's the first question that you asked me today was, why do I do what I do, or fun about it? It's people. and that's that opportunity. And then so many people, they want to make things better, but they wait till the start of the month, the start of the week, the start of the year before they do it. Why not just bloody start now? If you're actually deadly serious on making something better, why not? As soon as you finish listening to me talk now, just go and do something. So I think those three things are so transferable in everything we do. Everything we do. So yeah. So there you go. I forgot the question. I'm just waffling.
Brilliant. No, that's valuable. And that start thing is so important. Often people put a Monday or a start of the month, as you say, almost to create almost a procrastination, really. Or they say, oh, I'm not quite ready, or it's not quite ready, and they wait for perfection, and perfection will never arrive. And actually just doing it. And likewise, I'm the same this year. I've just done things. I'll create an online course. Well, I'll just do it. It's not the best. Great. I can change it and adapt it as we go. I thought our podcast, I just got cracked on and did it. So it's just doing things. And whether you're an individual in your own life or as an organization, I think we should just get on and do things. And it's really exciting. And it's more fulfilling because you're going after things that get people excited. And going back to the original stuff about keeping people engaged, people doing new things, new projects, as long as they're aligned to the company mission and purpose, then it creates that sort of empowerment and that team collaboration and keeps people motivated and looking forward to something new and to be part of that. So I do thank you for being on, Lee, and I thank you for your sharing personally, because not everybody does that. And
thank you for that. We've only just started, though, haven't we? That's the intro finished, isn't it?
This is the introduction of number 1 of a series of 10 with Lee Houghton. So, yes. But yes, I do thank. But also, how can people get hold of you, and would people want to connect with you, want to be your friends, and everything else?
Perfect. No, thank you. So, if anybody wants to buy the books, so when I started the books, it was just because I read a children's book to my child or to my children. I thought they're not learning anything and it doesn't rhyme, so I thought I'd give it a go. And then 5 or 6 children's books later, I've done it, but they're mainly for me to read to my kids, and they're just available on Amazon because that's the easiest way for me to get hold of them. Anyway, so it's all about Jack is the book that's all about the mindset, and I'm really interested and intrigued to find out whether the message translates to a younger audience or not. So that was my idea when I did it. So it's about a city in the brain, but it's running alongside my boy's called Jack, but him learning his how to ride a bike without stabilizers on, and the emotional journey and the different characters that that this character meets in the art. So yeah, it's all about Jack. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. Getknowledge.co.uk is the business website, and that's the bread and butter stuff. That's the improving businesses, engaging the people, delighting the customers while improving productivity and reducing cost. But then the podcast is Business Problem Solved. That's available, 108 episodes down so far. One of them is including you, Julian, as well, which is an absolute pleasure. Yes, so LinkedIn as well. I should actually say LinkedIn because that's where I am. That's where I spend the majority of my time. So yeah, just Lee Houghton on LinkedIn. You'll see me there. So yeah, that's just a few of the places where I am. But one service I don't offer is performing monkey. I have hung up the monkey suit, so that's not what I'm here to promote.
Well, that's a shame, Lee.
Yeah.
There's no discos at the moment, I'm sure, so you're okay.
Yeah, no, perfect. No, honestly, though, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you today. It's always a pleasure to see somebody as follically challenged as myself. So thank you.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate your time.
Cheers.